In this video, we'll be discussing intervals for level 2. So this is the level 2 intervals 2 test. In a lot of ways, it's building off what we did in level 1 with intervals. And so if you haven't watched that video, make sure you check it out. However, now it definitely gets a little trickier. So in level 1, you'll remember we went from do to anything or down, right? So we knew do to fa was a fourth because 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a fourth, and we know that it's a perfect fourth because all fourths are perfect and all fifths are perfect. If we were going do down, same kind of concept. We'd count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do down to fa, a fifth. In level 2, now you'll be going from other notes than do. For example, you might need to find the interval between re and fa. To do that, it's the same kind of number concept, except if we're starting with re, re now becomes 1. Mi becomes 2, fa becomes 3. So it's a third of some kind. The question is it a major third or a minor third? And for that, we have to get a little bit more into some of the theory of what we're doing. A major scale is made up of a particular series of whole steps and half steps. Do to re is a whole step. Re to mi, another whole step. Mi to fa, a half step. Fa to so, a whole step. So to la, another whole step. La to ti, a whole step. And finally, we end with ti to do, a half step. If you're familiar with the piano, which you should be, because by now you should have taken the Keyboard 1 test, all of the white keys make up a C major scale. That's how it was designed. So you'll notice that there's a black key in between all of your notes except for 2 of them. E and F, or in our case, mi and fa, and B and C, or ti and do, because those are half steps. So if you are confused or you're looking for clarity, you can always sort of use a piano as your way of thinking about things. So we know whether this third is major or minor based on how many half or whole steps there are in between them. A major third is made up of 2 whole steps. For example, we know from intervals 1 that do to mi is a major third, whole step, whole step. A minor third is made up of a whole step and a half step. So re to fa, whole step, half step, which means that re to fa equals a minor third. Similarly, if I said what's fa down to re, it would actually be the same thing, because we'd start 1 here, 2, 3, still a third, still a half step and a whole step put together, still a minor third. This changes, however, if I were to say, what is fa up to re? Because now we're going past our do. In fact, I'll just put a little r here for our next re. So that would mean we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now the question is, how do we find the quality of this sixth? We know that fa up to re is a sixth of some kind. Question is it major or minor? You could go through the formula of finding out whether it's major or minor, or, in my opinion, the easier way is we kind of know a little bit from last time that major and minor are always inverted as you invert your interval. So we had fa down to re was a minor third, fa up to re would then be a major sixth. To me, that's the easier way to go. That said, this would be a whole step. You could, if you want, think of it as a 3 whole steps or 4 whole steps and a half step would give you your major sixth. I wouldn't recommend that because it seems like an awful lot of work. But if you want to do that, you certainly can. For me, it's a lot easier to figure this out as a minor third, and this would be your major sixth. So let's do a couple more as an exercise. Let's say we had to get from fa to do, since I've already got the numbers written out. Fa to do would be a fifth. Up to do, what kind of fifth would it be? Well, fifths are always perfect. So fortunately, we have a perfect fifth. If I were to take fa down to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, a perfect fourth. So that pretty much has stayed the same from intervals 1. So we basically, in essence, looked at every version of thirds and sixths because it's going to be the same thing. We have our whole steps. So if we had fa to la, major third, fa down to la would be minor sixth. The only one we haven't looked at would be your seconds. So if we have, let's say, let's take mi to fa. Mi to fa, we have a half step. That's going to, exactly, that would be a minor, I just said exactly to my wife who's sitting off camera. So that would be a minor second. So mi up to fa would be a minor second. If we then took mi down to our other fa, and we had do, ti, la, so, fa, we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That can't be right. Did I do that right? Oh, I started at the wrong spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which makes a lot more sense. Now we would have a major seventh. If we did, what was I doing? Mi down to fa. Hopefully that makes some sense. Again, my recommendation would not be to try to memorize the sequence of half steps and whole steps from mi all the way down to fa to figure out if it's a major seventh or a minor seventh. Although you can. You're much better off knowing that this is a minor second, so then the opposite of that would be a major seventh. That mostly covers this concept, although I admit it is a little tricky. So if you're having trouble, definitely come talk to me about it. I'm sure if we just sort of sit down and kind of walk through some examples, it'll start making sense really fast. Again, the other thing you could certainly do is make yourself some flashcards and just sort of memorize. So fair game on this test would basically be any note to any note, just without any chromatic pitches of any kind. So you won't get any kind of weird exceptions to any of these rules. These rules are going to work for everything that you're doing until you get to level 3. So you'll see things the exact same way as on the intervals 1 test. So you'll see things written out like this: fa up to la, ti down to re. And then you'll have to answer what the quality and interval is. And then the last way you'll see things is I'll have things written out like what is the interval between fa up to re. And I'll just have it written out sort of in sentence form. If you have any questions, let me know. Good luck.